Hello everyone, and thank you for visiting our poster. Through this poster, I am going to talk about the issue of plant blindness persisting in the field of citizen science in India. Plant blindness is a critical issue of not giving due representation and underappreciation of plants as living organisms in our surroundings. Think of it in a way where we get fascinated by different species of animals and consider them as charismatic organisms, whereas plants are not considered in the similar way. So, to understand whether this phenomena persists in Indian citizen science activities, we looked at all the abstracts of studies presented in the past Citizen Science India conference. In addition, we also looked at the registered projects on the conference website to get the idea of plant blindness. It is possible that there might be citizen science activities related to plants which are not there on the conference website. However, it is still a due representation of substantial proportion of citizen science in India. My name is Harsh Yadav, a PhD researcher at Yokohama National University in Japan, and along with Sham Esfartyal, an associate professor at Nalanda University in India, we are honored to present a unique perspective related to plants and Indian citizen science. So let's get started. India has seen a substantial increase in the citizen science activities where people, including common citizens, are actively taking part in such activities while interacting with nature and also learning new things about society. However, the representation of living beings is still more inclined towards faunal groups. The same was also seen in the presented studies in the past Citizen Science Conference, where studies focusing on animals were presented significantly more than plants. We found that birds were the most represented group in Indian citizen science, followed by insects and mammals. On the contrary, plants were largely underrepresented across the years of Citizen Science Conference. We also looked at the objectives of presented studies to understand the reason behind such citizen science activities. As we expected, citizen science was largely used for species identification. However, there was an emerging trend where citizen science is focused on the data quality and its promotion among citizens. The only citizen science objective related to plants was understanding their phenology, and that too for trees. On the other hand, there was a clear trend where citizen science followed multi-ecosystem approach. Most of the citizen science activities were carried out at different geographical scales, covering more than one ecosystem. While looking at the citizen science digital platforms discussed in the studies presented in the past conferences, we found that eBird and iNaturalist were the most commonly used citizen science platforms. It was reasonable since bird was the most widely represented animal group, and iNaturalist served as the platform for both flora and fauna. However, the contrasting scenario was to see the social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Flickr being used in Indian citizen science. It not only boosts the outreach of citizen science but also brings additional information which was not available through conventional citizen science approaches. On the other hand, the underrepresentation of plants was also seen in the registered projects on the conference platform, where projects related to birds, insects, and overall biodiversity related projects were more in number compared to dedicated plant related citizen science projects. Despite the increase in the followers of citizen science in India, we are still practicing the conventional way of citizen science. We need to diversify citizen science by not limiting it to certain living beings and also represent plants in India, which is still a big dark spot in terms of data deficiency related to plants. Furthermore, there is an urgent need to move a step forward from the current citizen science practices and develop ways to document information related to various parameters, for example, traits, their life forms, species interactions. This information is important to be described accurately while entering the data. We need to train the practitioners to follow this approach of elaborative information documentation to reach the true potential of citizen science. And by this, I will like to thank everyone for your time and patience. And now we are happy to have discussion and questions.